so nice just it being silent at the bottom half of the
This new bit of this thing across here is new.
Yeah, so this is, you get used to just go straight through this and all the cars came through, and then they just like really cheap, they just went, right, close, everyone has to go in Salford.
It's 6 or 8 years now, isn't it? It's a while now.
Yeah. Yeah, everything.
Long enough for someone to have driven into that sign.
Yeah, it probably is 6 years. Yeah, I think you're right with that. When they did it, there was kind of nothing in Salford. All these buildings have happened since.
The car route now is to turn left and get to those lights, which we'll see if we go that way. That.
Yeah. It's a good day to do it and everything closed.
I know, it's really nice and pleasant. We need an extra intervention earlier up on the estate so that between the two interventions there's enough persuasion for even the... Because I'm one of those returning drivers. I live on the A56 in Trafford, friends on the A56 in Berwick. I for years just used to drive through the city centre because it's all I knew as well. And at 5:30, I mean I used to drive like a Watson, so it wasn't that slow for me. And it was fun, exciting, you know. But then I thought I've just got to start using the M60 and go the long way out. And it probably saved me petrol. It definitely saved me time. But I felt like I shouldn't have to do 3 miles more than what I'm used to doing. You were telling me to change my things. But eventually I saw the light. And then it was 13 minutes door to door from Stretford to Whitefield. That was my regular route.
Any football fans, that's where Pep Guardiola lives, City Suites. The apartments go for about £1.5 million.
This is a really good indication of the road's been rebuilt with a different type of non-tarmac. The idea is that there should be hardly any cars here. We're in a public realm place, public realm and public realm and public realm.
If you need a push button crossing, then doesn't fit with the servicing. There's so much traffic you need to push.
Well,
yeah,
it's because the traffic management that was supposed to happen at that junction isn't being done effectively.
If you've got nice fancy paving, you shouldn't have to need a push button crossing.
This was designed about 8 years ago. Yeah. It's not perfect by any means. You're right. I mean, whether we should even use this kind of material in a road, I'm not entirely sure about.
Get rid of the traffic and you keep it.
Yeah.
When you've got buses as well, it forms very quickly.
Exactly.
I think that might be the logic for the crossing because the buses are going to stay.
Yeah.
But in fairness, if you're going to support disability crossing, you do need a push button, even just with a few buses.
So really, I think we've learned a lesson that if you've got buses going on a route, which we always were on here, you shouldn't use that kind of material, you should just use bit back. But it's been made far worse by the fact that everyone ignores that right turn. So you can see it's completely fallen apart there.
The right turn from down there.
Yeah, so people are coming down there, and
We'll go to that junction next.
yeah, it's a banned right turn, but they're coming around. But yeah, I mean, this is the historic centre of Manchester and Salford. This is where it all happened. So you've got Manchester Cathedral. This is like the medieval centre. So this is where we spent a lot of money spent on public realms, kind of as a catalyst for the regeneration. And now we've got 40, 50 story tower blocks going up around here, and it's all quite swish. So. This here, so we've got the implied zebras on here and just over there, which were literally just for the cameras on Wednesday. But this is Brian Deegan's note that got submitted as part of the cycle safety review, showing the side road zebras that he wants and kind of setting out what changes he wants to do. So this is going to be the flagship kind of beeline for Salford. This is our priority route, the A6. So it's continuous footways, it's continuous cycle tracks. We're trying to get the actual like Dutch ramps or Dutch curbs in as well, so it keeps the footway and the cycle track at the same level, and the cars have to ramp up over it, so it slows them down and it keeps it nice and comfortable for the cyclists and the pedestrians. So when it comes to doing stuff on the bridges, which we probably need to make the bridges one way to fit in cycling infrastructure,
So there is a width.
we need to completely remodel and rebuild the junctions. So we can't do that without talking to Manchester, because it's going to impact on traffic flows. It's going to change how people get around Manchester. So this bit we could just do in isolation without agreeing with them. All of the rest of it we need to discuss it. So we have done. We've told them what we're doing. We're leading on it. So we're commissioning counts, modelling, UTC to do the initial design work on the junctions, and
So
then we'll
even
just get on and do
before
it.
this starts being built, the fact it's definitely going to be built, the ball's in their court now, isn't it? They need to.
Yeah. And there's still a massive lack of design standards, which I'm hoping Brian Deegan's going to put right quite soon. Because like when we were designing this, we were basically going on Google Street View around Amsterdam and almost like unpicking how they designed things so that we could engineer this, which is an insane way of having to design infrastructure. But yeah, I mean we're really happy with the designs for this. Yeah, but it's exciting times, the money's coming along, and we've got a really kind of young design team. We're all kind of in our kind of 30s, kind of everyone, like the engineers are just so excited to be working on such quality stuff, and they're learning stuff all the time. So they're really into it, and like everyone keeps getting buy-ins to the team. But yeah, we want to get this in as soon as possible, really, because I think for Chris Bowman this is all going very slowly. He kind of got offered the job about this time last year, and I think he probably thought we'd have schemes on site by now. So we need to get going with it.
It's not.
This is a rain garden with lovely paving.
Oh, look at the water!
The water running down.
Just in case the water
You'd
doesn't
have
know where
thought,
to
you'd
go.
have thought they'd have aligned it.
Yeah,
But
with the
it
hole.
goes into these holes. The original intention was to put cycling infrastructure on this road.
Right.
The problem is you've got Salford Central Station there, which is it's getting more and more busy with you've got spinning fields here, you've got new office development as part of New Bailey, so you've got a lot of people spilling out there. This is also the main bus route into Manchester from Salford, so you have loads of buses. So that's our pinch point. You've got the columns outside the station holding the viaduct up. You've got the bus lay-bys. We couldn't get cycling infrastructure through there, and we couldn't do bus boarders because there's just too many people getting on and off buses. So although here you kind of go, there's loads of space for cycling infrastructure, what a wasted opportunity, we just couldn't get it in. And that's why Chapel Street is getting really good cycling infrastructure, because we'll bring people down Bloom Street in, down Chapel Street in, and then they can either come on here, this has been calmed to 20 miles an hour, or they'll come over the bridges further down and into town.
Is it possible long-term to close the
So the intention is to install bus gates.
Yeah. Then you could possibly then you wouldn't need the labourers.
Yeah. Exactly. And it'll be a far nicer place. So yeah, stage 2. Once there's a load of other work happening on the inner relief route. Once that's done, bus gates are going in.
But yeah, it's a shame because this Ordsall path, which we've seen a little bit of now, and you might see more of later, this section has just been too much development and the path sort of fails here, doesn't it? There's not really an easy way to make it through.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be diverted through the New Bailey development. You can see Ordsall Ford, the new bridge over there that was delivered as part of the Northern Hub to give us extra capacity through Greater Manchester. Cladding Core 10. It's quite a swish looking bridge. The development next to it is the Wilburn Basin development, which I think is one of the nicest
Oh, it's
schemes
lovely.
in Salford.
It's lovely. Briefly, can you say why so the Ordsall Court is built exactly where there used to be something called Prince's Bridge, which was a really crucial link to get people out of town and onto the river path or to other bits of Salford without having to go through these horrible, massive car junctions on the inner ring. And they've had to knock down Prince's Bridge, despite it looking nice. And they've got a new bridge under the Ordsall Court, and its engineering strength is in a ridge in the middle. And we had to have this argument with architects about put clear colours down. If you want walking one place and cycling another place, make it legible. Oh no, we want little tiny stainless steel symbols, and we want it all 50 shades of grey and all that sort of thing. So, but why? So the bridge has been built.
Yep.
And has been finished. The walking and cycling bridge, which is under the Ordsall Court.
Yep.
And so, is there a fixed reason for it not opening, or?
Yeah, because there's a building site on the Manchester side where they're building the factory arts centre, and they've requested for it to stay closed for 2 years whilst they build it. this used to be a really, really horrible road.
This one or this one?
This one. And we calmed it right down, so this is 20 miles an hour, and it's got bus lanes in each direction. Bus lane starts there. We've made a mistake of putting nice materials in the highway again on one of our busiest bus routes. So there's major defects in the highway. It's less bad this way, it's worse coming in, but just be wary of it.
How old is it now?
It's about 8 years old. We've put quite nice materials in the highway. We did like a concrete bed. We copied Sheffield, they'd done it and it was fine, but it had only been in a year. We did it, theirs started to fail, ours failed.
I'm yet to find a sort of busy road, nice surfacing scheme that's actually sort of maintained its integrity.
Nice surfacing should be kept to footways.
Even Exhibition Road is failing, and they spent,
well, Exhibition Road has far too high traffic flows.
But they spent a massive fortune on this, allegedly making it bomb-proof, and it's still failing.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in how effective this is at enforcing a 20 mile an hour limit.
I reckon the hubs are more effective. The width they've been added afterwards.
Oh yeah. That bit of narrow curb along there looks remarkably like the one that they've just put in on Farringdon Road in London and then promptly ripped up again because people just thought it was a white line. Thought I can ride straight over that.
The red is...
So this only got relayed yesterday, so it's missing the markings that will go down. So this is us kind of practicing before we do Trafford Street. It's us getting everything right. And it's a kind of microcosm of what we're trying to do in Salford. So it's good quality public realm, it's street trees, it's SUDS, it's cycle track. Red.
Right colour.
Yeah.
So this is, you bring people to say this
is what it's going to be looking
much
like.
better than a drawing, isn't
exactly. So like, what are you concerned about? We'll come and see this.
Right.
You know, it's fine.
Will this carry on up?
Yeah, so we've done a corridor plan for the whole of Ordsall Road, and the intention is that we do it in phases. But it meant that when this housing development was done, and we said, well, we'll contribute to the public realm, it wasn't just a case of do any old public realm scheme and then we'll come back and do the cycling infrastructure in the future. We knew what we needed, so we could do it all in one go without any aborted works. But a lot of it is us getting the details right, the curves and everything. So I'd like to know your thoughts on it and which bits.
I think it's great.
You like it?
Yeah.
No problems with the railway bridge down there? It's fine to carry on straight over that?
We can fit everything in, yeah. There's bits where it goes slightly narrower, but I don't think we ever get below 1.5, but we aim for 2 wherever possible. That guy just came and picked out the big plank that was in the rain garden and put it next to it. So that shows there's a bit of buy-in to the scheme and people wanting to keep it looking nice, which is good.
Were they annoyed about losing parking here, these shops or not?
I don't think they really kicked off. I think they were okay. I mean, we
Park on the side road, can't you?
Yeah.
Chippy's a bit of a classic for the pull-up and grab the food though, isn't it? Yeah.
There were concerns that people would just come and park up. I've not heard that we've had any
Just park in the bus
issues.
stop.
Yeah.
And will that, at the end of Ordsall Road, will it go over into Media City? Through that area?
The corridor plan that we've done so far doesn't go that far.
Okay.
Long term, ideally.
Okay.
In terms of funding, though, like we were only allowed to choose one main corridor for the really good, expensive stuff, and that's that one. So I don't think this is going to get funded for a long time. So we need to do kind of smaller, cheaper interventions in the meantime. But being mindful of what we want to do longer term. So like when we put crossings in, I want to make sure that we do it so that we can easily then fit the cycle track in later without having to completely redo that crossing. And that's one thing we don't really have much of an understanding of still is who's cycling where at the moment, because a lot of cycle journeys are invisible basically. You've got Strava, but that's a very small subset of people who cycle, and you have to pay for that data. So we just don't know where people are going. Continuous cycle tracks, bus stop bypasses. We'll be using that Dutch curb again and having a buffer between the cycle track and the road. We're looking at doing a good job of this junction as well. Our engineers did have a go and it wasn't very good. It still has cycle lanes gated across the road basically. So we asked for Brian's advice and he came to us going, oh yeah, no, I've just cooked one up that works for that one. So we're going to be looking at that again. And it's basically a Dutch style junction that works within the rules
UK signal. So you have an all stop pedestrian phase that cyclists go on as well. Basically.
You've got the staging set up now.
Yeah, it's already.
It's the exact same staging
west and then around.
Yeah. So you can basically do a two-stage right turn in one go with it, and it keeps the cyclists segregated and going around the outside. So
we're first for the UK.
Yes. I think so. Maybe Walton Forest will get there first on Eagle.
So this is where the famous shot of the Smiths was. So it's quite an iconic place. The road's called Coronation Street. Coronation Street's the base. So it's quite Salfordian here. These are really big terrace houses, so they're nearly all student and HMO accommodation. The rest of Ordsall is very much that sort of accommodation, so it's housing that was built in the 70s and 80s on a Radburn layout, so there's loads of ginnels going through it. There's loads of places like this where they've closed off roads to stop rat running and joyriding, but they never thought to put in dropped curbs and things. So this is going to be our first filtered neighbourhood because it's really easy to do.
You don't need to do anything different.
Exactly. It's not controversial. There's only one through road in the whole of the Ordsall estate, so we need to look at maybe modal filtering that. But everything else is actually reopening it to walking and cycling rather than closing it off to cars.
Sure.
So, and it's nice to do something for these people because this estate is trapped between Manchester city centre and Media City, where they can see all these shiny towers going up and nothing ever gets done here. So it'd be nice to work with these people to actually make their area nicer.
So it's the ring road here.
Yeah, so the M602 is just over there, about half a mile up the road. It ends and dumps everyone onto this road, which is Regent Road, which then turns into the Mancunian Way, which is our like mile-long bit of motorway through the middle of Manchester, and the inner relief route. So yeah, really heavily trafficked route. So actually, we've got this road that runs parallel to it, which is traffic calmed. If we opened this up and improved the path going through, you actually create a really nice low traffic parallel route for people to cycle in. So we can do some through routes and just make it nicer for people who live here to walk and cycle around. So yeah, Salford Uni did some research about active travel with this community last year as well, so we're looking to build upon that and get that stakeholder group back together. So we're quite excited about it.
So this is post Smiths, but obviously pre-thinking about cycling. It's filtering. What was the road
I think it was pretty much like this when that photo was taken, because they're leaning on bollards, I think, in the photo. I don't think it's massively different.
We should do a leaning bollard photo, shouldn't we? Basically.
We're mainly looking at curves.
That's why we're here.